Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. This is the first Global Glacier Sound Meditation. I'm so happy to be offering this today on the World Day of Water after the first World Day of Glaciers. And as we were saying, as after the spring equinox, this moment of renewal and balance of light and darkness in nature. And I am so happy and so honored to be joined by Cymene Howe from Rice University in Houston, Texas, and by Marcela Fernández from Cumbres Blancas, Colombia, that she's in Paris or in France, because I think you've been to another event. And to be joined by all of you who are dedicating this time to listen to glaciers. That's such a special thing, and is quite revolutionary as well. I've been the last 2 days as well in the UNESCO celebrations and conferences and congress about the World Day of Glacier and the International Year for Glacier Preservation. And we know for sure that glaciers are melting at a very rapid speed. We are not that sure what we'll be able to do in terms of saving what's happening or changing what's happening. We last year, like Venezuela was the first country that lost all its glaciers, and they are disappearing as we in our generation as we are here. So that's why I think a bit regardless of if we can save them or not, we have this opportunity as a generation, we have this responsibility to listen and to create a bond, to create an emotional bond with them, because our descendants, our children, our grandchildren might not be able to do so. So here is the fire of, or the calling for us to really listen and bring the legacy to the next generations of what's been the voices of glaciers. And I think that's part of what I do. I'm Néfur. I think I have not introduced myself. And yeah, I do music with glaciers. I've been recording glaciers in Iceland. I've been composing with the sounds of glaciers, portraying their messages and their sounds. And today I will sing live with you with the sounds of the glaciers I recorded, in a way that we can all receive the voices of glaciers. And yeah, we'll take it from there. So I would like to, I don't know if Marcela is ready to.
Yes, I'm
Hey,
here.
Nice. Hola, Marcela. Hello.
Hola, hola.
Marcela from Cumbres Blancas, Cymene. Yeah, we are the trio behind this event. So it's great to see that everyone is on board now. I'd like to invite Cymene to start. Cymene Howe to introduce herself, to introduce the projects she's been working on, Global Glacier Casualty List, and introduced a couple of glaciers that she would love to connect with today, and she would like to introduce today. Cymene.
Thank you, Néfur. I also want to thank you for this amazing concept that you've come up with and for bringing us all together. I love the way, this creative way that you're bringing attention to glaciers. I love how you said that we have this responsibility to listen. I think that's really important, and to hear it from you, an artist and a singer, is really a lovely kind of form around this amazing art project that you're doing. I think that bringing together the water and the ice and the sound and land and transformation is really, really important. So thank you, first off, for making this happen and bringing us together. So my name is Cymene Howe. I am a climate anthropologist, and that's kind of a weird title, but basically what I'm trying to do is to understand the relationship between people and our rapidly changing environments. And essentially what I do is I ask, how does what we do as human beings, as people and communities, how does it etch itself into the earth and into the sky and into the waters of the world, and what other beings or creatures are really affected along the way? So these are the kinds of big existential questions that I like to think about and work with in my research. About 5 years ago, working with others, including Dominic Boyer, who's here on the call with us, I created a memorial for Hofsjökull, which was the first of Iceland's glaciers to melt because of climate change. It was the first little glacier in Iceland to basically die because of a warming earth. And we held a funeral on top of Ok Mountain back in 2019. And that was the first funeral ever held for a glacier. And so it was a very interesting and momentous event on the one hand, but it was also a real call to action and a reckoning, because the truth is we had never needed to have a funeral for a glacier before. Because before, the condition was that glaciers were transforming, they were retreating, they were melting, they were becoming smaller. But now what we're seeing is we are seeing glaciers dying, disappearing, becoming endangered all over the world. So we've crossed a real threshold in terms of the way that we're treating the ice and water of the world. So again, Dominic Boyer and I, working in collaboration, we've now created the Global Glacier Casualty List. And I think I'll put that up on the screen so that you can see it.
Yes, please.
Do you see that there?
Yeah.
So this is the Global Glacier Casualty List. And in this website, you can go in and you can begin to see, we're building it out over time. But essentially what we're doing is we're showing where these lost glaciers reside. And in the casualty list, we're following the disappearance of glaciers basically on every continent on Earth, which is where the glaciers have lived, because it's everywhere that they are being lost. And each glacier, of course, tells a story of ice. It's a story of ice and water. But we think it also tells a story about people. And it creates this, and creatures, and it creates this question around time. And so this is why our casualty list is not made of statistics, it's made of stories. And so each of the glaciers here has a story that you can read and follow. And so I wanted to begin by remembering and thinking about this glacier, Pico Humbolt, because Néfur, you mentioned that in the country of Venezuela, they've now lost all of their glaciers, and that is true. That happened last year. They've lost all of the 5 glaciers that they had. I'll move in here so you can see some of where Pico Humbolt used to live. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to read very briefly, I want to read you a eulogy. That is a story of Pico Humboldt's loss. So the country of Venezuela has now lost all of its magnificent glaciers. Pico Humbolt that you see the remains of here was the last. What survives is a legend from the Maripui people. It tells us how all of the mountain glaciers came to us. The story begins with Caribe, a princess who lived many hundreds of years ago. She was the daughter of Zuhe, the sun, and Chia, the moon. One day, the princess saw 5 huge white eagles crossing the skies. Their feathers shone like silver. Caribe was entranced by them. She ran through the valleys until, exhausted, she reached the highest mountain peaks. But the eagles were nowhere to be seen. That night, as the moon took her place in the night sky, the wind went silent, and the stars were glowing with joy. It was then that Caribe could see the white eagles again, in flight around her moon mother. The princess sang her most powerful words of magic, and the 5 eagles settled quietly on the highest mountain crests. They turned their heads toward the North Star, and from their perch in the sky, the eagles extended their massive white wings, covering each of the 5 mountain tops, and then they turned into ice. So this is how our glaciers, our neighbors, and our inspiration for thousands of years came to be. Now the eagles of ice are gone. What remains is only a story on the horizon where they used to reside. And finally, I'd like to take you to Anderson Glacier, which is in Washington State in the United States. Anderson Glacier was once the headwaters of the Quinault River. Flowing through the Olympic Mountains of Washington State, Anderson's waters helped regulate the temperature of the river. Its cold, clear water nourished the Quinault blueback salmon, a species that hatches and spawns only in this river. Now Mount Anderson is bare, and the indigenous stewards of the river, the Quinault Indian Nation, say that snow and rain now just slide down the side of the mountain, filling the river with silt. That silt clogs the gills of young salmon so that they cannot breathe. The Quinault say it is heartbreaking to see the entire glacier gone, and its waters have become rising seas that bring still more pain. They have had to abandon their largest village to the ocean and to move further inland. The Olympic Peninsula has lost 36 glaciers so far. Quinault people say that part of life is that things transform, but they also say that when things leave us physically, they stay with us in spirit. Ancestors walk with them forever. And so to Anderson Glacier, we say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Cymene. That was so inspiring to hear the stories as well that have this power to also connect with our emotions and our imagination. So I'd like to invite Marcela now to introduce herself as well, introduce Cumbres Blancas briefly, and also introduce a couple of glaciers that I don't know if they'll be on the glacier casualty list map, but we can probably get in the map, get in the location if that works.
Of course, very, very happy to be here. Thank you, Néfur. We had the chance to meet in person in Paris some days ago, and I hope that this is the beginning of many, many sound meditations. Cymene and Dominique, I deeply admire your work. We actually reached out at the beginning of the year, and I hope that we can collaborate more and take what you guys did further. I thought Cymene was going to talk about Santa Isabel. Because you didn't, I will include it. But briefly, I'm Marcela. I'm the founder of Cumbres Blancas and Glacier Nation. We started 6 years ago this movement, this collective, to bring visibility to the glaciers melting, to the fact that they are disappearing, and it was ignorance what led me to create the movement. I didn't know that my country had tropical glaciers, and I realized that most of the citizens also didn't know. We didn't know that 8 glaciers disappeared the last century. My grandfather, my grandmother never told me that Colombia, while they were young, lost glaciers. So definitely I realized that there was a lot of awareness needed, and that's how and why Cumbres Blancas was born. We started creating books, festivals, making the glaciers the influencers on social media, and this wouldn't be possible without a team of volunteers. So we found really a common purpose, a common goal. I think Tati from our team is here today, and this is the book. This is the book that we started. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce one of the glaciers. It's Chundúa. It's the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. And it's also the main book's cover. This is a special glacier because it's very sacred. It's one mountain that it has 42 kilometers from the beach to the peak. It's the highest point of our country. It's the roof of Colombia, and it's the place where God lives for 4 indigenous communities that inhabit this sacred land. The Kogis, the Arhuacos, the Cancomas, and the Wiwas, and Seranqua is the name of the god of the Kogis, for example. And if you see a Kogi, they are called mamos. They are like the shaman. They have the hat, and the hat represents the snow. So when a glacier melts, what we are losing is gods, God disappearing, the connection with God, and that is not only seen in our cosmovision, but also in the Quero nation of Peru. And I could say talking about that because that's really my connection with glaciers. It's a spiritual connection. I feel it's a call. I think they knocked the door of my heart, and since then, my life changed. And the second glacier that I want to choose is Poleca Casue. We call them on their indigenous names because this is a form of colonization as well. The peaks, the name of the peaks are not the indigenous names. Poleca Casue is Santa Isabel. It's important for us in Cumbres Blancas because it's where we were born. Our first expedition was there. We were a group of strangers that descended, becoming family, tribe, movement. That's where it was born. It's a glacier that disappeared on it's still a remnant. There's still a part of the glacier that we just visited, but the Conejeras, which is the most iconic part of the glacier, disappeared on the 16th of September of 2023, 5 years ahead of time. So yes, this is a special glacier. It's the one that I visited recently in January, and it was really strong to see the moraine, to see the rocks, the cemeteries. And we did a small homage, a small altar, but definitely, Cymene, we can do much more. And just to wrap up, on Cumbres Blancas, our goal and our dream this year, International Year of Glaciers, is to have one movement and collective in each country that has glaciers. It's about 50 countries. I'm here today in France promoting and making Expand Cime Blanche. It exists also in English called Glacier Nation. We are in the US. During pandemia, I travel across the 10 states that have glaciers in the US, and I can tell you that the same ignorance that I had of my own glaciers, I saw it in the US. So strengthening Glacier Nation US, it's important for us, and in general, I believe that the ambitious action in a year dedicated to glaciers is that we are able to respond with our gifts, with our time. It doesn't have to be that big. With Néfur, we are also doing and strengthening Cumbres Blancas España and probably in Iceland. So yeah, very much willing to connect with you all. I'm gonna leave my contacts in the chat. I'm very grateful for this space that Néfur is going to create for us, because I believe that the most efficient thing we could do, apart from studying the glaciers, is helping them through us heal. So if we all envision that we're sending this love and this beautiful energy to the glaciers that we love, or the closer glacier from where we are, I'm sure that the glacier is gonna feel it, is gonna receive it, and it's gonna be resilient towards their agony and their sadness, and we can just send them beautiful emotions because they need that as well.
Thank you so much, Marcela. That's great to hear. In the sense of, you know, everything that you have built with your team, how much passion and action there is, and think how many things can be done if we collaborate together. And I love to have heard as well that when we are losing glaciers, we're losing gods. And I think that's a very powerful thought. And if we look at what we're doing funerals, we're doing rituals, we're doing pilgrimages with glaciers. And I think it makes a lot of sense. There is something there that connects with something very primal, very ancestral, very like connected to the origins of the world and of life, because of course, you know, they're the libraries of water and the cathedrals of water, as I know, Marcela, you call them as well. And it was very interesting in the UNESCO events the last couple of days. I was happy to hear that there were more and more voices pointing towards that, pointing towards the emotional connection, pointing towards the spiritual bond, pointing towards the need to touch hearts, to go to the emotions. And I think with this process, that is a grieving process in the end, that we're doing with the glaciers, and a process of finding the love between us. What we're doing today is something that can really create like these connections between us and glaciers in a felt and embodied way. So now I'm just going to be pretty brief. We're going to start with the music very soon. So I want to introduce the glaciers in Spain. We have in the website Monte Perdido from the Pyrenees in Aragon, and next to Monte Perdido is also Aneto. Today I flew from Paris to Barcelona this morning, and I saw them from the window of the airplane. So I already sent a bit of love through seeing them. Was it's always very majestic when you see these high mountains and these glaciers. And I think with Monte Perdido and Aneto, both they are glaciers that have an expectancy of life of around 10 years. Also, I think I want to connect with them because they are close to where I was born, but I never heard of them until a month ago, also talking with Marcela and this beautiful work that she's doing about, hey, are there glaciers in your country? Because you might not know. So I want today to connect with Monte Perdido and Aneto as an introduction. Like, we are from this heritage, from this territory, and before they go, I'd like to establish some connection. And also, I've been working in Iceland. I've been in all of the glaciers in Iceland, but one, and it's the one that I also want to introduce here and invite to this space and invite to this meditation, is Hofsjökull. It's a glacier that is in the middle of Iceland. It's a bit harder to access. It's in the highlands, so you can only go during the summer. And again, it's in the global glacier casualty list, and is one that is predicted to disappear. I think, Cymene, what is the year you have in there? If you go to the story. Yeah, so it's incredible when we see these dates like 2030, 2040, like this is just around the corner. So I think, again, I want to emphasize the message of let's now listen to glaciers. Let's now travel there. We can go there physically, or we can go there energetically and with the actions we do as well. So that's what we what we want to promote here, like get closer in some way. Want to say hello to the glacier. Hofsjökull. It's been great to connect with the glaciers in Iceland, and as I'm also going there next week for a long period, I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to collaborate with Hofsjökull and hear what they have to say as well. So thank you so much for these wonderful introductions. Everyone, now we're gonna get into the meditation with the sounds of glaciers. You will hear sounds that I recorded in Iceland with different kind of microphones on the water, outside, and different techniques. But what matters the most is to receive this voice of the glaciers. And I like to invite you now, if you have a cushion or if you have a mat, you can go and lay down. You can relax, you can sit, close your eyes, like if you were doing a meditation when we're starting this part. And maybe you imagine that, you're going there, that you are there, that you are in dialogue with the glacier. So I invite you to maybe choose one of the glaciers that we mentioned today, or choose one that is close to you. And then, yeah, just try to just invite the energy of the glacier to come to you, to speak to you. You may receive a word, you may receive a sensation, you may receive an image, a feeling, or you may just relax. It's all good. There's no expectation into what to experience. It's just like I offer you the voices of glaciers in combination with my voice to take you on a journey to feel them closer to your heart, feel that you have a relationship with them. And then we'll go with that. It will last like 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. And then we'll come back and everyone will be able to respond, to comment, to ask questions for a few minutes, and that will be the session.
Iceland.